Chapter 14 of Yuddhaanantara Parva. Parikshit, the Ashwamedha Yaga. Vyasa was a frequent visitor to the court of Yudhishthira. He came again and was honored. He knew that the king had still not got over his grief. He said, "It will be a very great achievement if you perform the yaga called the Ashwamedha. It will make you happy, and it is a proper thing for a monarch to do." He told the Pandavas that it was not an easy thing, since it needed immense wealth and they could get it from the Himalayan mountains. The Maruts had buried their treasure under the slopes of the great mountain. Yudhishthira was very pleased with the suggestion of the wise Vyasa. He found that his brothers too welcomed the suggestion with enthusiasm. Bhima was particularly happy since he found his brother enthusiastic about something. He was tired of seeing the incessant mourning of Yudhishthira. As for Arjuna, he was thrilled at the thought of fighting once again. He offered to go round the world leading the sacrificial horse. He would conquer all the kings who would dare to oppose him. The Pandavas sent word to Krishna that they were all going towards the Himalayas with the purpose of collecting the untold wealth of the Maruts, that the king was going to perform the Ashwamedha according to the suggestion of Vyasa. They requested Krishna and Balarama and all the Vrishnis to go to Hastinapura as early as they could. The kingdom was left in the hands of Yuyutsu, and Yudhishthira set out with great happiness. He loved the Himalayas and his heart was light. Vyasa was wise in his suggestion. This new plan was keeping the king occupied. He had something to do and he had no time to brood. They went to their beloved Himalayas and spent some time there. They collected the wealth of the Maruts and began their return journey. The entire host of the Vrishnis had reached Hastinapura to attend the Ashwamedha of Yudhishthira. They came even before the Pandavas had returned from the north. The main reason for this early arrival was this: Uttara's child was to be born any moment now. Krishna knew that it would not be alive when it came. He had taken an oath that he would give it life in spite of its being burnt by the great Brahma Shirshastra. Krishna had come early to give life to that child, the heir to the throne of the Pauravas. They spent a few happy days there. The great day came. Uttara gave birth to a child which had no life. Knowing this by instinct, Krishna, accompanied by Satyaki, hurried to the chambers where Uttara was lying in bed. He met Kunti coming out of the room weeping and wailing. She saw Krishna and said, "Krishna, you have got to give life to the hope of the Pandavas. Your nephew's child has got to live. You are my only hope. Come with me and see that child which wants to live but cannot, since Ashwatthama has not allowed it to live." Krishna raised up the weeping queen and said, "Do not fear. I have promised that I will make the child of Abhimanyu live. I will do it even if I have to spend all the punya I have acquired all these days." Krishna entered the chambers of Uttara. They were all there, Draupadi and Subhadra and all the women of the royal household. Uttara saw him and rushed to him and fell at his feet. She fainted away. They lifted her up and placed her on couch nearby. Krishna saw the tiny little body of the newborn child. It was lifeless. His heart was swelling with affection for this bit of flesh, which was all that was left of his beloved Abhimanyu. It had to be revived. Yes, it had to be. Krishna's face was now stern. His smile had vanished. No one could recognize this Krishna. They were looking at him with their eyes open wide with amazement. He looked as though he did not belong to this world. He was far away. Suddenly Krishna took the little child in his hands. It was limp as a lotus hurt by snow. Krishna took it in his lotus hands. He passed his divine hands along the body of the child. His fingers travelled from the head to the little toes of the child. At the touch of his blessed hands, the child became alive. It began to cry lustily. It had been granted life. Krishna was limp with exhaustion. Sweat was pouring down his face in tiny rivulets. He came out of the chambers. He could not walk. He looked so tired. He sat on a stone seat for a while. Satyaki was waiting for him. He had heard the cry of the child. He was happy. He saw Krishna come out of the chambers of Uttara as though he were in a daze. He saw Krishna stagger towards the stone seat. Satyaki saw Krishna to be in a trance. Satyaki waited for him to come. He guessed that Krishna would not be pleased if he intruded into his inmost thoughts. It was evident that this task had drained him of all energy, his spiritual energy. Krishna was regaining it. It was a sacred moment. Krishna was tuning himself to be in touch with the infinite in order to get his energy back. Satyaki waited. Krishna came to him. He looked the same old Krishna. His face glowed with a new light. He looked as though he had gone through a strange experience. Satyaki did not speak about it. He said, "So, Abhimanyu lives again. Glory will be yours for this act of yours, Krishna. It is a greater achievement than winning the war on the Kurukshetra field." Krishna smiled and said, "Yes, Satyaki, this was more difficult than winning the war." They walked away from there with their hands locked together. The palace was a temple of joy. The entire kingdom was celebrating the birth of the heir to the throne of the Pauravas. A month passed. The child of Abhimanyu was given the name Parikshit. The days were spent in celebrating the event. Even Subhadra was able to forget her pain when she saw the son of her Abhimanyu. They heard that Yudhishthira was returning from the north. Krishna and others went to meet them halfway. The entire party entered the city with great enthusiasm. Vyasa came and the preparations were begun for Ashwamedha. The king saw the newborn child of Abhimanyu and his sorrow was all gone at the sight of the child. It was amusing to see Bhima carrying the small child in his huge, big hands. He was very fond of their grandson. Yudhishthira came to Krishna and said, "Krishna, please listen to my words. I have a request to make. You must perform this yaga. You have won this kingdom for us, and it is but right that you should perform the Ashwamedha." Krishna smiled gratefully at Yudhishthira and said, "You are the ruler of the kingdom. You are the Lord and Master for all of us. It is but right that the Ashwamedha yaga should be performed by a king of the lunar race. It is all in the tradition of the kings of this house. Your dear grandfather has said that you will be like Nahusha and Harishchandra. I will be greatly honored if I am allowed to serve you as one of your vassals. I am proud of you, my lord. I am very happy man. I am seeing all my dreams come true, one after another. They all come true, my lord, if only one has the patience for it." Krishna was feeling happy to see that the king had thrown off his sorrow and was glowing like the sun after it has come out of the eclipse. He could see that Yudhishthira was really happy. Arjuna was sent to the four quarters with the sacrificial horse. He went in all the four quarters and the conquests were all easy. He was not opposed in many of the countries. In the places where he was opposed, it was not hard for him to defeat the kings and collect dues from them. He invited all the kings to attend the Ashwamedha Yaga and returned to Hastinapura with the white sacrificial horse. Bhima and Nakula with Sahadeva were in charge of all the arrangements. Then began the preparations for the Yaga. It was just like the great Rajasuya which Yudhishthira had performed years back. The Pandavas and Krishna with the heroes of Vrishni house were there. But all the other kings were the children or the nephews of the kings who had attended the Rajasuya. The Ashwamedha Yaga was over. All the kings returned to their kingdoms after they had been honored by Yudhishthira. Krishna and Balarama with Satyaki and the other Vrishni heroes returned to Dwaraka. Shri Krishna Pranamastu.